Uh, in episode 2 of Yellowjackets season 3, the terrifying aspects of the wilderness do not disappear with the shifting seasons. Instead, the title Dislocation gives a clue as to what awaits, whether upheaval or displacement. It's been a long time since we last saw season 2 finale, but now the wait is finally coming to an end. In the 90s, the Yellowjackets are still stranded in the forest, battling both the lingering animosities of the past and the fresh perils that constantly threaten them. Um, Summer has arrived, but peace is hard to find amidst old grudges and new dangers. So, currently, the wounds from Natalie's passing are deep and raw, much like they were evident during the days following her funeral in season 3, episode 1 scars that no dose of painkillers can dull. In the latest installment of the game, I'm still reeling from the shockers as Shauna finds herself with a double dose of unforeseen guests. Major spoiler alert. Uh, Dislocation and episode 2 of Yellowjackets third season, the storyline begins in the 90s as Madi, Alexa Bodyhouse, remains captive within a pit. The player has a dislocated knee, and Coach Ben informs her that she must manually reposition it for him to assist her, since he only has one leg. As anticipated, the situation is quite grisly. In her grief over losing her son, Shauna, Sophie Nelise chooses to move his remains from the 3 shared graves dug by the girls and instead buries him a hidden location deep within the forest. Uh, Back at our base, I'm feeling uneasy because my friends are fretting over Mari's vanishing act and the eerie wilderness noises that echoed last night. It's giving me chills. Um, the girls plan to form a search team for Mari, and many of them express readiness. Um, However, Shauna expresses reluctance, stating something along the lines of, "I don't care about Mari." Their ongoing dispute shows no signs of resolution. The gals plan a search mission for Mari, and most are on board. Uh, um, but Shauna just doesn't seem to care, saying something like, "I don't give a hoot about Mari." Um, but their beef isn't getting better anytime soon. The girls are setting up a search party for Mari, and uh, most seem keen. Uh, but Shauna just doesn't seem to care. Um, Saying something like, "I don't give a damn about Mari." Um, their their beef isn't showing any signs of thawing out soon. Um, the girls are planning a search mission for Mari, and most seem games fashions. Uh, but Shauna just doesn't seem to care, saying something like, "I don't give a rat's ass about Mari." Um, their beef isn't showing any signs of cooling down anytime soon. These options maintain the original meaning while using different tones and language styles for variety. Um, in a simpler and more natural way of phrasing, Lottie persuades Travis to wait, recommending he tried another dose of mushrooms to investigate the mysterious source of those noises, of similar to ever you've take or evolve, similar to ever. Whatever you're sensing is far greater than any one individual, she tells him. Lottie's back, baby. Currently, Shauna, played by Melanie Linsky, is making an effort to restore a sense of routine at home. However, this stability seems fleeting as Lottie, fresh from her stay at a psychiatric facility, returns some in an attempt to distance herself. Shauna mentions her desire to part ways, but Lottie clarifies that she, in fact, forfeited her group, not her cult, but rather than her community during the events of season 2. In an unexpected turn of events, Callie enters the scene and surprisingly advocates for Lottie to spend the night, despite it seeming unlikely that she would want any association with that particular night at the commune. And regarding the remaining characters, Tysa, played by Tawny Cypress, and Van, portrayed by Lauren Ambrose, are reunited post-encounter, unaware of the fact that their actions from the previous number, dining without paying, inadvertently resulted in the waiter's demise. And they won't have to wait much longer for the truth to come out. But unfortunately, Van inadvertently slices his foot open on a piece of glass while they were kissing. Ty strikes a bargain with her. If Van agrees to visit the doctor, Ty will go to the restaurant and cover the expenses. Misty, Christina Ricci, still reeling from the aftermath of the previous night's heavy drinking and bar brawl, now finds herself receiving a call from Shauna requesting her presence in April 24th. Walter is seen tending to her as she handles this new development. I attempt to persuade her against it, pointing out that her friends seem to invite her for outings merely when they require something from her, and they're noticeably scarce when she needs their support. And however, Misty dismisses my concerns. Coach Men's confession, previously Nat and Misty, Sammy Hanrabi, have joined forces in their search for Mari. However, when Misty queries about Ben and if Nat suspects he could be the one who torched the cabin, she skillfully avoids addressing her suspicions. Later on, I come across one of Ben's homemade scroll traps and decide to hide it by diverting the Yellowjackets from his trail. And as it turns out, when we get back to camp, Misty pulls Shauna aside and whispers that she suspects I know where Coach Ben is hiding. In the meantime, Mari feels relieved after mending her knee, but finds herself trapped in a pit. The whispers about Ben being a sociopath have evidently affected her, causing her to attempt winning him over by claiming, "I always thought you were the one who set a fire to the cabin." However, upon approaching, Ben appears puzzled. Des gives could you clarify what you're discussing? He queries, I thought the cabin was destroyed in a fire. She responds, really? It was smoldering for weeks. You're telling me you didn't catch a whiff of it at all? To which he retorts, frankly, I've kept my distance from everyone as much as I could, given the cannibalistic incidents we witnessed in season 2. That makes sense considering those events. The question remains, if he didn't burn down their cabin, who did? Sleepover time. Presently, Misty arrives at Shauna's place. It turns out that Walter was spot on with his prediction. As it happens, Shauna is going out for a business dinner with Jeff, Warren Cole, uh, leaving her in need of someone to watch over things and keep Lottie from influencing Callie. In essence, Shauna asks Misty to act as a caretaker. In the evening, Lottie unexpectedly drops by Callie's chamber. The enigmatic cassette from Yellowjackets season 3, episode 1, is in Callie's possession, but she swiftly conceals it before Lottie can catch a glimpse. Eventually, Misty steps in and diverts Lottie's attention. In private conversations, the adults discuss Natalie's passing. Misty carries a sense of guilt, admitting, I injected a syringe filled with fentanyl into her. However, Lottie counters, you didn't mean to. We were complying with its wishes, providing what it seemed to want. And once again, it made its choice. Callie unexpectedly joins them and proposes a get together, reminiscent of a sleepover night. This implies indulging in some alcoholic beverages. Regarding Thaisa and seeing, I see, makes her way to the eatery to settle the tab whilst waiting for the manager's arrival. She notices an altar dedicated to the deceased waiter. Intrigued, she inquires about the incident, and a staff member informs her that he suffered a heart attack during his work shift. In simpler terms, Ty appears worried and flees for the second day in a row. Afterward, she visits a sermon nearby, locating a place of worship containing a religious statue. In a habitual fashion, she secretly snatches a matchbook from the eatery earlier and ignites it on top of a lit candle. It seems you can't completely tame the wild spirit within. Travis has a bad trip. Switching to the past, we discover Ty and Van in search of Mari. Suddenly they're startled as they hear Travis shouting in a state of panic, evidently under the influence of psilocybin mushrooms. Upon rushing over, they find him agitated with Lottie by his side. He cries out, they're approaching. I prefer not to encounter them, as he shudders at the sight of them. Seem 1, 2, 3. They're focusing on me. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. It's attempting to penetrate my being. In a different wording, we could say that despite Ty and Van's attempts to keep them apart, Lottie persists in provoking him. She urges him not to fear, but he angrily demands she stays away, ultimately resorting to physically pushing her onto the ground and encircling her neck with his hands. And thankfully, Ty and Van are on hand to pull Travis and Lottie away from each other. After cooling off, Aquila approaches Travis and hands him Mortimer, their beloved duck, as a way to console him. In a straightforward manner, Lottie visits and expresses that she's indifferent towards any harm he might inflict on her. Instead, she emphasizes, what matters is that you're reaching out to me, she explains. As I share this with you, I confess that it no longer desires me, apparently preferring Aquila instead. He says this is the reason the creatures have faith in her. And yet uh, it feels as if he's spinning a tale to disengage me, perhaps to free himself from my concerns. Um, at the moment, uh, Ben says, assists Mari in escaping the pit with a rope. Uh, he hauls her up, restrains her, ties her wrists, and covers her eyes, stating that he can't rely on any of the Yellowjackets just yet. I'm on edge, you know, fearing she might return to their base and spill the beans about my location. What transpired with Jackie and Hobby, don't you? Um, in the evening, when we meet up with them, it turns out that Ben had brought Mari to his secret location. Uh, um, she's scared at first, but he manages to reassure her by offering her a warm cup of cocoa he found in the woods from a survival kit. Um, she delights in it initially, but her happiness swiftly morphs into worry as Ben withdraws to a secluded spot and begins a heated conversation with himself. Um, enough cease. He shouts, addressing what appears to be an empty space. Shauna loses it. Currently, seem quite chaotic. Shauna is making every effort to perform the role of a gracious hostess during Jeff's business dinner, as he aims to secure a partnership with two hotel brokers would provide them with furniture for their properties. Um, the challenge lies in their overly arrogant behavior. Then, um, despite this, Shauna makes an effort to remain composed and heads to the bathroom to touch base with Misty. However, an unusual incident unfolds. To clarify, in the first episode of Yellowjackets season 3, a woman anonymously left a cassette tape for Shauna on her doorstep. Interestingly, this tape was surreptitiously taken by Callie. It appears as though they have come back as Shauna is in the restroom. An unidentified individual enters, stands near Shauna's stall, then extinguishes the light before departing. After Shauna reactivates the light, nobody is present, yet someone seems to have left their phone behind. And Shauna gives the phone to an employee and returns to her table, whereupon she overhears one of the realtors expressing doubts about whether Jeff's business aligns with their needs. At last, Shauna bursts out saying, "You insignificant pester, have you truly believed that I care about your opinions? Uh, you're utterly non-existent, you worthless entity. You don't merit his belongings." Even though she's standing up for Jeff, he's actually upset with her due to the burnt bridge incident. What he really wants is for her to consider him for a change. At my place, after a long gaming session, it's Truth or Dare night with my pals Misty, Callie, and Lottie. You can guess who's curious about our recent adventures in the wild, right? Uh, it's Callie, it's property system, but old Misty here is trying to keep mum on the subject. Is it clear to you what Callie has been up to? She secretly slips some sleep-inducing cough medicine into Misty's drink, making her fall unconscious. When Shauna and Jeff arrive home later, They're puzzled to discover a groggy Misty while Lottie and Callie are casually watching television together, as if they were the best of friends. After another long, boozy night, I stumble back home, feeling worse for wear. Once again, Walter's there to give me an earful. He claims he's just concerned about me, but I reached my limit. I end things with him and boot him out of our house. Uh, Yellowjackets season 3, episode 2 ends with a call and a kiss. And towards the end, we alternate scenes from both time periods. During the 90s, Shauna discovers fresh flowers at the location of her baby's hidden grave. Out of nowhere, it's Melissa, Jenna Burgess, or the ally I've been teaming up with lately. And she steps forward and admits she trailed behind me this morning, wanting to ensure I was all right. In a different phraseology, Shauna is informed by someone about their admiration for her strength in the face of adversity. However, when this situation arises, Shauna becomes emotional and confronts Melissa. Nobody has any claim to my child, she declares emphatically, asserting that the baby is hers alone. In a surprising twist, Melissa says to Shauna, "Everyone seems to fear you, don't they?" To which Shauna responds with a scowl and a threat, brandishing her knife against Melissa's neck. "If you breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll end your life." However, the situation takes an unexpected turn when Melissa leans in and kisses Shauna, who reciprocates the gesture. Currently, Shauna finds herself alone in her room, and makes a call to the restaurant to inquire if anyone had picked up the phone she left there earlier. Uh, to her astonishment, someone indeed did. And Shauna queries about their appearance. And from this point in the story, where a kissing scene between her and someone named Melissa ends, it's reasonable to infer that the person trailing behind her is an older version of Melissa, given that in the last episode, the individual who delivered the tape had blonde hair. At the moment, it's all just conjecture. The first 2 episodes of Yellowjackets season 3 can currently be streamed on Paramount Plus together with Showtime, and the 3rd episode is scheduled for release on February 21st.